Hi, my name is Karolina, and I am again here at the beautiful Purple Valley Yoga Center, now from a different angle outside Avishala, together with Kathy Cooper, that has been teaching her for the past 2 weeks. She came here actually straight from the Ashtanga Yoga Conference in Bali.
Yes.
Where you were teaching with John Scott, Donny Paradise,
Scott Johnson, Mark Roberts, Chuck Miller, Dina Kingsburg. It was great.
Big names.
Yeah, it was very fun.
Must have been very interesting.
It was.
Yeah,
great. It was a good collaboration.
Yeah, but now you are here. And
yes.
I have had the opportunity to practice with you for the past 2 weeks now. And for me, the energy in the shala has been very nourishing, and it has been very calm and very grounding. So I just wanted to ask you, what is the most important thing for you when you're teaching your students? What is it that you want to share?
So it's more that I look at them, that one of the main things I'm noticing is how they're breathing.
Okay.
A lot of people do not take advantage of what's really possible. The breath can get kind of a rote kind of a movement. They're not really filling. So I always pay attention to the breath and how I recognize if they're in their core, if they're in some way attempting Mula Bandha, because it makes a big difference.
And how can you see that?
I can see it because their breath is superficial, for one thing. And a lot of times when they're moving, they don't have this gathering. There isn't this gathering energy. It's not that it's exactly visible on the outside, but you can sense it and somewhat see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you're teaching about the bandhas, because unfortunately I have not been able to join your workshop because of work, but when you're teaching about the bandhas, how are you teaching Mula Bandha? How are you explaining Mula Bandha, Uddiyana Bandha?
Well, I'm showing all the different ways you can engage it.
Mm-hmm.
So depending, not to do it the same every time, it demands a little more ability. So sometimes you can draw the sitting bones together, which closes off the pubococcygeal muscle. The pubic bone is always going back. This is my really big understanding. The tailbone comes through a little bit, and when that comes through, that's engaging Uddiyana Bandha, very low. You can draw the lowest pelvic belly back. You can draw the navel back. Mm. So there's other things that I teach as well, and bending over and standing up where you're really in your core. So I show lots of different ways to engage that helps the breath come up into the upper body, because it's not meant to be abdominal breathing. There's a little of that, but if it's just here, you're not getting the prana moving and flowing through the body, and that's work.
Yeah. From an energetical point of view, because the bandhas are not only physical, they're mainly energetical, I feel.
Yes.
I have been practicing now for approximately 13, 14 years.
Yes.
And I actually think that just the past months, somehow I have been able to connect with the bandhas more from an energetical point of view by bringing my attention to them.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's attention instead of tension. But when you first start, it's much more gross. You have to engage.
Yeah.
You can pluck up. I can use all the right words. It's not to harden, but you have to put your attention in your physical center, and it's actually engage the muscle. Eventually it becomes a psychic point. So there's a journey, but it's a journey. So for people to try and say, you barely do anything, you just put your attention there. I always say it's attention instead of tension, but initially it's tension. And little by little it refines. It's a journey.
It's a journey. It's so interesting because the more we practice, the more we can develop, the more we can experiment.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the more that when it comes in and you really recognize it, from that moment on, every time you take a breath, you can tell the difference if you're engaged or not. And it gives a lift to the whole experience, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but actually, Kathy and we are not here now to talk about the bandhas. In case you have seen the other videos that we have done this season where I have been the demo, I have been the one that have been demonstrating, probably you have understood that I'm working on various parts in the practice, like the third series. And you might be surprised over the fact that I'm working on the third series, thinking of the fact that I'm crashing so very often when I'm demonstrating the asanas, but it looks slightly better in the shala. It looks slightly better in the shala, actually. But one of the things that I've been working on are the Tic Tocks. And I started to work on Tic Tocks approximately 10 years ago, together with my first teacher, Rolf Neukat, who has been teaching here in India. And still, today, I have not been able to do them by myself. Therefore, we did a video with David Robson as well, to show you some of the techniques that David is using. But what I have been looking for has been a way of doing it by myself without a teacher, to overcome the fear that I've been having while approaching this specific movement. I don't want to say posture, because it's a whole sequence somehow. Yeah. And when Kathy came, the first day she tried to help me to do the Tic Tocks, and we almost crashed together. And perhaps that was one of the reasons for Kathy to take me to the wall and show me a way of doing it by myself without the teacher. And this is what we wanted to demonstrate today.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's exciting.
Yeah, it is.
You get to trust yourself.
Exactly. So let's go down on the mat. So I have already done my practice once today. Okay. So perhaps you can explain a little bit what we are going to do here.
Okay. So Karolina is going to go into Urdhva Dhanurasana as close to the wall as she can. So instead of relying on somebody else to pull her over, she is going to bring one foot and then the other, not too high up on the wall. So that's where I'm giving her an eye to help her. And then she's going to come back into her shoulders. Okay, so all right, so maybe we'll do this a few times because you're pretty high there. Now, she's coming all the way back to feel it in her shoulders. And then, with barely anything, she's gone over. But this time, if you do it again, do it with your feet lower.
Where are my feet?
So this time they were about up to here.
Okay.
So if you can, otherwise that's what you're working on, is to lower your feet. But the good news about this is you can trust yourself when you're in the position that then your legs and your pelvis can follow.
Yes.
Right. So good. Now, so see if you can do it from there. Okay, not just about there. Now, really get into your shoulders and, maybe we better do that one more time.
Yes.
So you went right into a handstand, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But then it was like, uh-oh.
Okay. Yeah. So here I almost went into a handstand, and that is because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to basically bring my body slightly back, so I am more in the shoulders. Then I'm trying to lengthen my legs, activate my legs, and see if I can bring them over with grace.
Right, but it's also your pelvis is leading.
Okay.
In a certain way, and that means the rest of the body is following the pelvis, which is coming up more over your shoulders. That's what makes it a graceful movement,
okay.
Right? Okay.
So let's try again.
So we have to be aware here that you're not as warmed up as you are when you're in the shala. So I'm trying to get underneath you maybe a little more than I did the other day, because I don't want you to tweak it all to one side.
So these two...
and also your feet don't, unless it feels better, they can be a little bit apart. If that gives you, if it's okay to be together,
okay,
I don't care either. So that's up to you. There, that's good. No, I wouldn't say too much. Now go way back, way over your shoulders, and from right there, then your pelvis comes over. And once you've done that, then you're over. So you don't really even have to worry about coming into a handstand. If the pelvis is over, the legs follow.
Okay,
that was good.
Let's do one more.
Okay.
Last one. So basically, when you come up into the Dhanurasana, you can walk your hands in a little bit.
Yes, as long, right, exactly. which probably is going to cause you to bring your feet a little higher up than they would have to otherwise. Now, get your shoulders way up, and then
Perfect.
yeah. And nothing is feeling out of balance. It's all just coming nicely. Very good. So they're lower than they were when you first started doing it. They're a little bit higher they have to be a little bit higher when your hands are closer to the wall, because it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it didn't put a burden on your shoulders.
No. And I can guarantee that this is a perfect way of practicing it in case you are not together with a teacher, and a very safe way of practicing it. And basically you start with your legs a little bit higher up on the wall, and then you can walk down slowly. And then perhaps even bring some lower, I don't know, some blocks or a little chair and stool.
Right. Yeah.
And then practice the...
Yeah. So it's just getting the hips, the pelvis to come up over the shoulders. So that's just a journey over time, right?
Yeah.
Very nice. So, and safe.
And very safe, very safe. Thank you very much, Kathy.
Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Thanks.